of our competitions. But this is really a humbling moment for me to be sitting here right now. This is a dream come true. And it is hard to render me speechless, but I feel that at this moment. I have to thank President Bendaputi, Chairman Schuyler, the Board of Trustees, the search committee guys up there, and everybody who's been involved in this process. Michael, it just reaffirmed why I wanted to be here, why it was the right place for my family. Everyone has been incredible. The people have been amazing. The community has been incredible in a very short time. And I am so proud to have the opportunity to work with you, Neely, and to help this institution continue forward. You got it right the first time. I just hope I can match that. But the first time I met Neely, I just came home and I said, oh, Lord, Betsy, let's hope we're going to get to this moment. She's truly amazing, an amazing person. So I thank you. I thank you. I want to start. I want to thank the people at Boston College. It's a wonderful community and it's a great place. This is not about Boston College. It was about Penn State. And I want to thank Father Leahy, our chairman, John Fish, Mikey and Jay Hogue, Father Jack. Look, I am passionate. I got to meet the staff and the coaches earlier today. I love my staff. I love you all. But I love my BC staff, and I love those 700 athletes. They worked hard for us. And I'm proud of what we accomplished over a very short time. You know, whenever you think you have a plan, God laughs at you and says, no, this is the plan. So I want to thank them. You know, I saw Sandy here, and she's probably like me. Oh, is she back there? Thank you, Sandy. Sandy, in our world, we have a small little athletic director world. Sandy is the best of the best. And I am honored to take over and continue what Sandy has done here. I was on the football oversight committee with Sandy, and actually Sandy, I don't know if Betsy, she told you this, she saw when Joseph was born in the elevator and we were a total mess. We had kids flying all over. But Sandy, thank you. And I'm going to build off your legacy. We'll see if I can get through this one. I want to thank my family. I don't want to look at them. So, Guy, I'll look at you up there. My family is everything to me, period. Everything I do here, everything I did in the past is about my family. I'm not going to take shortcuts because I'm not putting them in jeopardy. No one's taking food off my children's table. And so we're going to do it the right way here. But my brothers and sisters are in Chicago with my nieces and nephews, and I want to tell them I love them with all my heart. So you're going to have to get used to my mom. She's over here. She'll be here a lot. You know, Ma, you know I love you. She's the biggest cheerleader. I think if the Pope was open, she'd think I'd be the Pope. So of course, Pat, why wouldn't they take you? And then the three most important people in this room, my two, Annie and Joseph, who I'm sure they'll make fun of me for getting emotional. I love you guys, and they are fired up. Coach Franklin brought them on the football field, so that was a big day for them. And then, of course, my wife. Not here without, you bet. Just not. Simply put, it's not here. And the last couple days have been absolutely insane, but thank you. I got lost in a hotel this morning, if that puts in any perspective what today was like. And I love you, and thank you. So enough of that. Athletic departments are a small piece of a greater institution. And I think it is important that we start there. The athletic department here is part of an institution in Penn State that represents academic excellence. It's an institution that is a leader in higher education. It's a top 25 research institution. It's an institution that is steeped in traditions, in core values of academics, respect, and integrity. It's an institution that's famously known the largest alumni base in the country, and I would say the most passionate alumni base in the country. The We Are community is powerful. The State College community is powerful. Penn State has it all. We in athletics are a piece of that. And I want everyone to understand that, because it takes this institution to help you achieve every aspect and every goal you have. I love what I do. I love it. College sports allows us, the folks up there and all of us involved, to transform young women and young men's lives. They come to colleges 18 years old, and some leave. Now with the COVID rules, some are leaving at 25, it seems. But in that period, we transform their lives. And I don't take that responsibility lightly. And for me, having been a former college student athlete and as a sport administrator, my passion is for the student athlete. Their experience is paramount. Everything will start and stop with the student athlete and their experience here at Penn State. I will promise our athletes, and I got to meet Allie, and she's amazing. She's an amazing representation for this institution, but I cannot wait to get in. The best parts of these jobs, and the coaches would echo this, is when you're with the athletes. But I promise them when I see them, they will have the greatest student athlete experience in the country, period. I promise you that. We will focus on the total mind, body, and spirit. When you do that right, you win. We'll focus on the mental health piece, which is a paramount issue in the world today, but really with college students, period, not just athletes. We're going to focus and continue academic support, nutrition, recovery, empower them that they all have a voice. No one should ever mute anybody. They have a voice. Use it. Engage in conversation. Be open and honest with one another. We will do everything we can to help the students today, and then whenever they leave our arms and leave this wonderful place of State College and move on to whatever they achieve after. We will continue to excel in the classroom. Look, I have 3 degrees. Mom probably never thought I'd have 3 degrees, but it's real. You can only play for so long, and you have to have that degree, and you come to Penn State for that piece of paper. That's important. That diploma, the network, the alumni, that's what it is. We will not waver on academic success. We will have an impact on the State College community and society as a whole. We are 31 strong. Hear me again. We are 31 strong. And we are committed to winning national championships and conference championships in 31 sports. We will continue the tradition of winning. We will have success with honor and win. That tradition is Penn State. We are Penn State. And make no bones about it now, and I talk to the coaches, I'm here to win. I'm here to win, and we are going to win. We're going to add to the 80 national championships and the 303 conference championships. We will do this with integrity. We'll do it with hard work, grittiness, toughness, and we're going to do it with passion, and we are going to have a good time. We're going to have fun now, but we're going to win. We're going to continue to win. I need to talk to Cal and see how he's done it so well, so consistently. That's the GOAT. But you will have that promise. This department is going to attack every single day with effort, with energy, and a great attitude. Effort, energy, and attitude. You can control those 3. Effort, energy, and an attitude. I just can't express to you the excitement I have. I got to meet the staff, and I got to meet the coaches. This is special people. And you got a shot when you have great people, and we have a great shot. And there's amazing people in State College. My kids and Betsy and I are excited to be really involved in State College in this community. It means a lot to us, and we are really, really excited. And I know I've taken a little bit more time, but I do want to tell you a quick story. Not a long story. quick. But Jay May, we came in, the old we, the Indiana we, came in and played Jay's team, and it was probably my senior year. And we're driving, or I wasn't, my mom and dad were driving in traffic, before game day. And my mom was telling me this story the last couple of days. I never heard this. And my dad leaned over to my mom and said, get ready. We're about to enter the mecca of college sports. And my dad passed 8 years ago. But he's right. He was right. And he is looking down, getting himself ready for the whiteout. But he is right. This is the mountaintop. And so I'm ready. And now it's time to get to work. And so everybody on campus, I can't wait to meet you all. Alums, I can't wait to meet you all. I thank you all for coming. I really am appreciative of this, and I hope I get to meet as many of you as I can in the short order. But thank you. Thank you all for this opportunity. Thank you. Thank you, Betsy, Ma. And we are.
Penn State.
We are.
Penn State.
We are.
Penn State.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And with that, welcome, Dr. Kraft, and we will open it up to questions here in the room. Raise your hand, and we will have Paul or Chelsea get a mic to you. We'll start with Mark, and then we'll come over to John.
Hi, Mark Brennan of Lines 247. I'd like to ask both of you, if I may, can you speak to the importance of having a strong college football program, not only as kind of the face of the university for some of the things you were talking about, Pat, but also in maintaining the broad-based athletic program that Penn State's had over the years? Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And I think you absolutely nailed it in your question. Maybe I'd add a third dimension. Obviously, it's the program that helps us have the 31 sports, which is important, and we're going to be competitive in all of them. And we have that legacy of success that we need to build on. A third thing that I would say, this is my president role as the president of a land-grant university, which is supposed to be about social mobility and economic development. Just think of what Penn State football does for State College, for our surrounding communities. So I'm mindful of all of those, and it was important to get a leader who gets that and also understands that 31 teams and every one of those teams deserves the chance and the support to win.
Yeah, I mean, Penn State football, right? And what I think what people miss is one other opportunity, you're going to bring 107,000 people onto your campus and engage and create memories. And so it is a driver. Nationally, it drives the brand. And it helps all the, you help in recruiting. Football game day helps recruiting for all the other sports. And I think it starts, and then everything else kind of falls in there. And and Cal has shown it, that it leads to success elsewhere. But Penn State is Penn State football, and it's a big part of it.
John Sauber, Center Daily Times. Pat, how do you balance those financial needs of football with the financial needs of the other 30 sports, and knowing that, the money generally is funneled to football here?
Well, I don't know that. I haven't gotten in the books. I think it's a really valid question. What I would say now, so 12 hours now, or no, really 3 hours is the idea. I got to look. I'm not avoiding the question, but even at BC where we had 31 sports, right? You've got to weigh what are your wants and what are your needs, and we've got to provide that for everyone. So how do you combat that? Well, you got to go raise money and you got to generate revenue. Okay, and those are the key critical pieces. And it's having a discussion. It's having a strategy on how to spend the money and look at the money. Where is every penny spent? So right now, I got to look at where the finances. I haven't seen any of that, but I think it's important that all right, here's where the money's coming in. How do we continue to use that revenue to offset some of the expenses in other areas? Because everyone has their own challenges, if you will. Every sport is unique in its own right.
Pat, Daniel Gallen, Lines 24/7. Neely said the search lasted about 35 days. When were you approached, and how fast did this process move for you?
Yeah.
I promise not to cut in if you're asking Pat a question, but I just want to say that during this process, as you all know, it's a limited pool. It's not like thousands of people. But I do want to not talk about details of the search for two reasons. One is we promised the candidates that that's not what we would talk about in terms of engaging. The second thing is, unlike faculty, like I'm a faculty member, we have tenure, So for many of the people, if they say, when not just about Pat, but it's a promise I made to everyone, and I want to act with the highest integrity. So those individuals, well, when were you contacted, when did you talk, might put their current employment in jeopardy. As you know, fans are not thrilled to hear, about their ADs or coaches. So I respectfully will tell you, we ran a thorough process and really talked to the best people out there. But respectfully, I ask that we don't do that because it puts other people at jeopardy as well.
Pat, Ben Jones, StateCollege.com. James Franklin said that he wanted the next AD to be bold and aggressive and approach policy change in the athletic department that might not impact the university at large, but would streamline things on the athletic department side. How do you define those words yourself, and how do you balance change and avoiding doing things because that's the way they've always been done?
Well, I think you got to look over, you really have to do a deep dive. It's a little bit like the finances, right? You've got to go in and you got to look at it completely top to bottom. What I think, and James and I have known each other for a while, I think it's important to really understand the challenges, right? And understand where they lie and how. My job is to make sure that the coaches and the student athletes have everything they have, and then I need to go advocate for them. I need to sit down with colleagues across campus and say, hey, here's some of the pain points that we're having. How do I help that kind of progress through the system that is Penn State? But I can't be afraid to do that. We can't operate in fear. We can't coach in fear. We have to be, and you have to also communicate to the coaches that there is a process to these things. So whatever the hurdles or whatever, we just got to accept the challenges and move them forward. I think change is always difficult no matter what it is. But I think it gives you an opportunity to take a step back and look at the whole picture, right? And say, that's really good, and maybe we need to tweak this. That works. Well, let's take a new sense. I mean, the industry is changing before our eyes, and so we have to be ready, and we have to be nimble. I think that's really a key point to every administrator in college sports right now.
Hi, Alexis Yoder, Daily Collegian. You just mentioned the changing landscape in college athletics, specific to the new name, image, and likeness legislation that's been out for almost a year now. What have you learned over the last year about that during this time, and what do you plan on bringing to Penn State to really harness, as you mentioned before, the large brand that Penn State is and helping student athletes navigate and capitalize off of those opportunities?
That's a great question. I wish I had a great answer. I knew it is because it's changing so much. What I've learned in the past year is there's a lot of sharks in the water, and they're attacking, and we have to protect our athletes because there's a lot of things happening that, candidly, I don't really agree with. I think the NIL legislation was great. I really do. I'm a believer in it. I think athletes should absolutely have the opportunity to monetize their name, image, and likeness. Well, I do have an issue with people just calling others on rosters, offering them money, and then go hit the portal. And that's what's happening, and we have to find a way to fix that. I think that's going to be the biggest challenge. Now, what we're going to do here, we're going to look at what's in place. Once again, I will say we had great success. I'm really proud of how we've handled it at Boston College. I can only go for what I know, and really putting the structure in place for the athletes to maximize their brand and their opportunities. We got to protect the athletes, though. You pay taxes on that money you get. We all know. Everybody in this room knows that. And I think that's a really key point to it. And putting your name on something is putting your name on a brand. And what do you represent? Who do you represent? Not just the Penn State brand. Who you are? Does that represent you? And so I think that is going to be. I do think the market will self-correct in the next 24 months. I think it's inevitable. But it's one of the things we're going to have to dive into right away.
Pat, you're one of the few athletic directors that comes with a hockey background in terms of time spent at Boston College. I know Guy's here, so this is maybe a loaded question to answer, but where does that fit into the piece of the puzzle for you? You know, hockey is always kind of been there financially, but obviously success can bring a lot of different things.
It really can. Look at Guy. We just had the GOAT, the greatest of all time, retire, Jerry York in hockey. He's won more games than anybody in the country. So college hockey is an amazing sport. I love it. And I told Guy we're going to get to the Frozen Four. This is a strong area for hockey, and what I got to do is I got to help Guy get there. I got to help him understand what are his things that we can help get him there. But Guy, I think hockey is it's awesome, and it has a great following, very very loyal. It's like wrestling, very loyal fan base. And when you can do it really well. And where that stuff really helps the department, helps the culture, it helps everything when you start to win, right? And it helps development. That's broad-based programming when you're winning top to bottom. And so, yeah, I'm excited to get in there. Guy was fantastic. I'm excited to get with him to help.
Thomas Frank Carr, Blue White Illustrated. This may be a bit of an unfair question, but fans are very passionate about Beaver Stadium one way or another. So how do you view improving game day experience for fans at a older, but as you mentioned, destination stadium versus, the challenges of retrofitting or upgrading all of those things in the future? And what would you like for a timeline on those decisions to be?
Well, it's funny. We talked about it, and it's funny. I've been a fan here. I've been on the sidelines and I've been in the field at Beaver Stadium. We're gonna have to walk through that and talk through it. I will tell you one thing that's not gonna change: that visitors' locker room. I hate it when I'm a visitor, but I love it now. That thing is tight, and I would take the banners away when you walk on the concourse. So the fans, they did that the second time. I want the fans to feel it, and I will keep that roar. Man, that roar is awful as a visitor. You're hearing that. When we get into, I got to really get into it. I think there's a lot of things that you can do in the short term. BC's stadium was the same way. A lot of older stadiums are like that. You just really got to, you got to really analyze that. I don't have an answer for you. I'm not trying to avoid it. It's something obviously we're going to have to figure out. But I think there is great opportunity there. And there are some things that you can modernize it right now, short term. We're in Boston. Fenway has done an amazing job with what they've done. They've monetized Fenway to really generate revenue. Obviously, the stadium is not just an athletic director decision, but there's some nice things in that building if you're a home team. I will say that, having lived that several times.
Pat, how do you view? You mentioned, of course, that Penn State being Penn State football. How do you view men's basketball then within the scope of the athletic department and sort of ensuring that it becomes a destination job for a coach like Micah Shrewsbury?
I agree 100%. Look, I've known Mike. I got to know Micah recently, and first off, Sandy hit a home run. He's the real deal, and he is special. And what we have to do is change what people think about Penn State basketball. We have to, this is a place to come, and you can be successful. And so I think that's the first thing. And Micah has to have, and this goes to all of our coaches, the resources and the ability to go and change that perception. And so he's the real deal. I got lucky with that one. With Sandy did that one wonderfully. But I think you're right. And that one takes time, right? You got to get people and young athletes to really understand. Oh wait, I can achieve everything here. I'm excited to really dive into that because both coaches deserve that. You can win in basketball. You can.
Are there other questions in the room? No. Hold on. Wait for a mic.
Hey, Ryan Parsons, Onward State. Sandy had said that she was in favor of expanding the college football playoff. Is that a sentiment that you would echo? And where do you see the future of alignment and playoff expansion going?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think it's going to get there. I think it's absolutely going to get to expanding to the playoff. The way I look at it is, it don't matter. It doesn't matter to me. I'm going to be in the 4. That's what my goal is. But, if it expands, that's great. We have a down year and you're 12. Okay. But I think it's eventually going to get there. I really do. I mean, this is truly Pat Kraft's opinion and, take from what it was. But I think it'll get there. I think it's just, there is a lot, though, that we have to figure out. It's a lot of games. And there's wear and tear on the athletes' bodies. I mean, if you really look at it, and I'm not going to, this is a longer conversation, obviously, in being it, but I think there's a lot it's not just as easy as you flip the switch and you play more games. I do think it's eventually going to get there, but I think the process is taking its course to do it. You could just kind of read where the narrative is going. And that's done at the CFP level, so we're kind of, in the riding that. But my approach here is control your own destiny. Go win games.
Now we're going to move to our Zoom component. We will start with Greg Pickle, and then our next one will be Mark Wogenrich. Greg?
Thanks, Chris, and thank you both for your time today. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Pat, you have about, 2.5, 3 months until you start here at Penn State. What will your priorities be over the next few weeks, months to get ready to take over in July? And how much of that learning that you've been talking about will take place over that period?
I appreciate that question. I actually think it's really good. I think it is equally as important how you leave a job, how you start a job. I have to close everything up in Boston, and they deserve that. My student athletes there deserve that. So the month of May will really be focused on making sure that they're situated, and I'll do everything that they ask of me. I do think June will be that period. It's hard for me to sit here. Actually, I'm kind of I want to get to work and I'm asking questions, but it will give me a chance to be able to really dive into some of the things that's just been brought up here. Where are we at? From an NIL perspective, okay, what are the issues that we really got to walk up to from a student athlete, welfare perspective? Finances, really giving. So it gives you a little bit of time, but my goal is July 1, I'm off and running. And so I got that month to really figure out kind of our strategy moving in year one, and things change. But I'm anxious to take that time to kind of dive in. I'll probably be and Sandy's here. I'm very fortunate to have Sandy to lean on, because that's a blessing. You don't always get that, and so to have that kind of, hey, what's this look like, and have that discussion with her, which is really helpful. And I also got a couple field trips I got to go on, which that gives me the time, and I got some recess duties I have to do, which is awesome.
We'll go to Mark Wogenrich, and then we'll go to Dave Jones.
Hi, Pat. Thanks for your time. Wanted to ask you, how did Matt Rule figure into your process of learning about Penn State and this job?
Yeah, Matt. I love my man, Matt. He had a good draft yesterday. Matt and I and Julie and Betsy and the kids are very close. I mean, we started together in this, he was that coach and I was, at Temple and AD, and our relationship, it's like we're really like brothers. He really did help. We talked about it a lot. And I'll tell you an anecdote. But Betsy rolled, when Sandy made her decision, she looked at me and she said, "That's the one, right?" Because Matt and I talked about, candidly, I've been in the shadow of Penn State for 7 years when I was at Temple. And you want to beat Penn State. And Matt's a good sounding board. And when this process kind of came to fruition in a very quick window, he was a wonderful sounding board. What am I walking into? I know what it looks like, but what am I walking into? But Matt, bigger than Penn State, we talk about just how to run programs and how to do things and how to, live this crazy life in athletics that we have. But, Matt's a brother to me, and I'm proud of him. I'm proud of him and what he's doing, and he's doing well for himself, my man. But he's got like, hey, you got to go meet this guy now, and you got to go here, and the Chili's that Julie and he met at doesn't exist anymore. They told me that, his wife. So, but what I will say is all the Penn State people that I met through Matt in time and our friendship, it really showed me a lot. And it's funny how all those conversations from when I started with Matt lead to this point with no direction, right? Not about, just in general about Penn State and what it meant.
Dave Jones and then Rich Scarcella.
Pat, I guess, well, Mark took my question, first of all, so I'm going to go to 1B here. What was your experience like walking on in football at Indiana? And what, if anything?
That's a great question. It wasn't necessarily, I've just been a grinder. I've had to work really hard. So the walking on piece was, I was going to do it. I was determined. I want to play in the Big Ten. And I love my alma mater. And what I learned from that, what you learn from, I'll just talk about football, but sports, you learn that hard work. You learn the grittiness. You learn toughness. You learn how to overcome obstacles. And I learned that in spades. I was around wonderful people and great mentors, many of which are around that, and not just in the coaching staff, whether it was strength staff or academic folks, or and all of, by the way, when this broke, text me, and we're so happy. I think that speaks volumes because we're competitors now, and but I learned a lot from that experience, and honestly, I think it helps me do my job today. Because I understand, even though it is a far more difficult world that these athletes live in, because we didn't have cell phones, and if we didn't want to answer the phone, we just didn't answer the phone. We don't have people having accessibility to us like we did then. I think these athletes go through a far more difficult situation, but I also understand, at the end of the day, work hard and good things happen. Get after it in the weight room. Do the right thing. Show up for class. Be kind to people. You want to get people to support you in the stands? Don't be a jerk. Go and be people. Get to know people on campus. Get to be friendly with people in the dorms and the apartments. I was a backup linebacker and played the special teams, but I had a section rooting for me just because I was social. And so I think those things are time out. That is what it is. That's just college life. And I also learned that, like, college athletics is important, but you got to be a college student too. You got to embrace everything that is Penn State and everything that we have to offer. So all of those things, I think, really frames how I approach every day in this job. But there's challenges now that are way different, and we've got to understand that.
We'll go two more questions. Rich Scarcella, then John Petishnock.
Neely and Pat, I would just like to ask, how often did your paths cross in the ACC, and how and when did you first establish your relationship?
Actually, our paths didn't really cross in terms of our spending time together at all. I knew, obviously, and conferences, things like that. Remember, too, that with COVID, a lot more of the interactions that normally would have happened didn't, so it was Zoom and so on. But I certainly knew of the reputation. Presidents, we are a small network, too, so you just talk. So I knew of the reputation, but didn't really have any meaningful interaction.
Our last question will go to John Petishnock.
Hey, Patrick, welcome to Penn State. John here from the Football Letter. Hey, I don't typically ask two-part questions, though I hope you don't mind me making an exception today. The 1999 game at Penn State, I think that's the game you're referring to when Indiana played here. Just what specific memories do you have from that day at Beaver Stadium? And then secondly, Dave kind of took my question, but if you don't mind just going into a little bit more detail, like how exactly did you go from being a walk-on to a scholarship athlete, and kind of how did that, how were you able to do that and have that type of impact with the team at Indiana?
All right. You may have to help me on this side. I've been hitting the head a lot. The old school linebacker, the 4-3, you fill a lot of ISO. So I'll answer the first question first. My takeaway, well, the roar, and Jay, we played tough. It came down to our quarterback played. Antoine was he was the real deal. I honestly, my biggest takeaway was actually Jay's dad. Every time you played Penn State, you didn't know if it was the last time you were going to meet Joe Paterno. So the game's over, and no matter how upset we were that we lost, there was a line to shake Joe's hand. And I was one of those people. And I called my dad, said I met Joe Paterno. And now, the second time I met Joe Paterno was 12 hours later because our plane didn't take off. So we were stuck on the tarmac. The Indiana football team is stuck on the tarmac, sitting on our bags. And this is the power of State College. Every hotel room was gone. Obviously, we were the homecoming. And every hotel room was taken. And so the entire football team was in the conference room, sitting there overnight, literally overnight, sleeping on chairs. And it was miserable. And we did get ice cream from the creamery, so that was the first time I experienced that, which was a win. But at about 6 in the morning, Coach came in and talked to us. And it was pretty incredible, actually. That didn't happen. That doesn't happen. And he came and spoke to the team. And he's like, "Hey, I'm sorry that this happened." And in fact, when this came to fruition, my roommates, my teammates talked about it. We still talk about that moment. You're like, "Oh man, remember we got caught in the and that's a very that is a very memorable game, actually, because of all that." And so that would be my biggest takeaway from that moment. Indiana, I don't think there's any secret sauce to it. Work hard. I think, look, I'm an undersized linebacker, but I'll hit you in the mouth. And I'm aggressive, and I played linebacker, and I love the Big Ten. I love what I do. Like I said, I loved college football. I loved playing football, and the game means a lot to me. But I just worked hard. I don't know if there's I'm not avoiding your question. I just don't know. It was. I'm just blessed that I know Mom and Dad were very happy that they gave us a scholarship. But it was something that I worked really hard at. I worked hard in the off season. I had to work harder. And so I think that's why I'm here today, actually. Hope that answers your Indiana question.